Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos. Please come in, find your seats. Your service begins. Hope everyone has been enjoying a joyful and meaningful Pesach. And as we prepare to come out of our Passover, our Mitzrayim, our narrow place, our Egypt, we do so with words of our ancestors that were sung at the real moment of freedom in the Exodus story. That was at the crossing of the sea. They chanted, they shouted these words, Ozi v'zimrat ya, va'yehi li lishua. Page 220 in your prayer books on the bottom of the page. Powerful words for a powerful moment, and we hope that these words will be on our lips as we go forth from this Passover holiday. Ozi v'zimrat ya, va'yehi li lishua. Try that with me. Ozi v'zimrat ya, va'yehi li lishua. Try that with me. Ozi v'zimrat ya, va'yehi li lishua. Ozi v'zimrat ya.
Shabbat Shalom. What a beautiful start to Shabbat. You put us in the mood. So tonight, I don't know if you know this, but tonight is the most confusing night of the year. Why, you wonder? Well, it's the 7th night of Passover. And there are 7-day observers and there are 8-day observers, and we don't exactly know who we are. So if you're a 7-day observer, 7-day Pesach observer, raise your hand. Yeah, you're with me. Raise your hand if you're an 8-dayer. Yeah, you're with my husband Sheldon back there. In our family, it's very confusing. We don't know who we are. And it used to be, before we really ate kitniot, before we ate rice and corn and beans for Passover, we had a great solution. On the 7th night of Passover, we'd have sushi. It worked for both of us. I, who wouldn't eat rice during Passover, would eat sushi to break my Passover diet. And Sheldon, who is Sephardic, would eat sushi to keep his Passover diet. It was perfect. So tonight is a very confusing night. Let me explain. Reformed Jews and Jews in Israel observe 7 days of Passover because it says in the Torah, you shall observe for 7 days. However, if you're an Ashkenazi Jew living outside of the land of Israel and you're conservative or Orthodox, you keep 8 days, and it's a whole calendar issue with 2 days of a holiday instead of one. We'll get into it another time, but that's the reason why. And the confusion will continue throughout the evening, as when you get to the oneg, you'll find that the oneg is Pesach. Why? Because we're a Reformed congregation? Because we know that many of you are 8-day observers and we want to make you feel comfortable. So at least that's the way it is this year, till I get my hands on it. And the confusion continues even more because I can't understand how it's possible that this person is actually 75 years old tonight and celebrating her birthday. We want to honor Cindy Franklin in honor of her 75th birthday for lighting of the candles and welcoming in Shabbat. No way you're 75. We invite you to come forward now. It's a surprise, by the way, as we turn to page 13. Oh, you did? Come light the candles. A big birthday, huh? A big birthday. So just lift the whole thing up. Yeah.
Light is the foundation of life, yet impossible to touch. Light is flowers growing and fruit trees blooming, photosynthesis and rainbows shimmering. Light is energy and romance, enlightenment and lightning. Light is red and violet, magenta and blue, lasers and campfires, warmth and illumination, the sunset and the dawn. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של Shabbat. Service continues as we welcome the Sabbath bride with Lecha Dodi, page 34.
בשמחה ובצהלה
Kadodi, Kakala, Shabbat, Kabla, Kadodi, Kakala, Shabbat, Kabla, Kadodi, Kakala,
We continue at the top of page 41. We give each other hints and smiles and glances, in loving words and sharp reminders. We give each other hints knowingly or unknowingly, in great thunderclaps or still small voices. We give each other hints in these bonds of family, in these gifts of friendship, spoken or unspoken, as together we find our way to God.
Continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 42. Yitkadal, veyitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, bagala, bagala, u'vizman kari ve'yimeru, amen. Yehesh me'rava mevorach, yolam ulme'almaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yipar, v'yitromam, v'yitnasei, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudeshah berihu, ve'ela min kol berchata v'shihirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran me'alma ve'yimeru, amen. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 la, la 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 la.
Continue together in the middle of page 45. Our kind deeds are used by God as seed for the planting of trees in the Garden of Eden. Thus, each of us, by our deeds, has the power to create our own paradise. Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, O God, who makes the evening fall. We continue on page 50. O God, you traveled with our fathers as they journeyed through the wilderness. You sang with our fathers at the shores of the Red Sea. You stood with our fathers as they fought against oppression. You have brought us all here, fathers and mothers, daughters and sons, to our own promised land of freedom.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Join together on page 57 with Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha, bechol levavecha ubechol nafshecha ubechol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadevarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha. V'shinantav levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha beveitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'ekumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמן.
On page 61, the prayer at the bottom of the page before the Micha Mocha, it recognizes that though our ancestors crossed the sea, our journey is not yet complete. Please read with me. Standing at the waters of the Red Sea, at the Mason-Dixon line, at the walls of the Warsaw Ghetto, the Berlin Wall, the wall that separates men from women, the privileged from the persecuted, perpetrator from victim, the master from the slave. We cry out, as did our ancestors in ancient days, let my people go, let all God's people be free, so that we may dance and sing together once again at the shores of the Red Sea.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ימליך נמושה. זה אלינו ואמרו, זה אלינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. היה לה 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 לה, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la.
So we turn to page 64 to the Hashkivenu. I feel compelled to say hello to our colleagues, Rabbis Loss, Yadwab, and Cantor Smolash, who are in Israel right now, and if jet-lagged, are no doubt joining us via stream. So everyone can turn around and say Shabbat Shalom. And please read with me on page 64. Cause us, our Creator, to lie down in peace, and raise us up, O sovereign God, to renewed life and peace. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and be our shield of mercy and of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem.
ושמרו בני ישראל ושמרו את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לעשות את השבת, דורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. We rise together on page 68. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi agid tihilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yadala.
הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, וחוזר מושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה.
Together at the bottom of 69. Prayer invites us to let God's presence suffuse our spirits, to let God's will prevail in our lives. Prayer cannot bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh Hakol. Blessed are you, O God, who renews all things.
אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
As you're seated, we pray silently.
רצון אמרי פי, יהי לרצון אמרי פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי of my mouth, the meditations of my heart be acceptable before you, O God, my rock and my redeemer. עושה שלום במרומיו, ויעשה שלום עלינו, ועל כל ישראל, וימרו
So I have another matzah dilemma. I never know how much matzah to buy. So back in the day, we would buy those big 5-pound packages of matzah. Do you remember those? I can't find them anymore. But then I would always have too much, and I'd have it left over to the next year, and then it would all get in the closet, and I'd find boxes from 5 years ago, and it was a big mess. So then I started buying boxes one at a time, but then you don't have enough, and you have to go back during the week and buy more, and then you have leftovers, and it's really a big hassle. And you know, matzah does sort of strange things to you during the week. So this next prayer is for all of you who are suffering from matzaitis. Or maybe you're suffering from a more serious illness, or you have someone in your family or our community who is suffering from something a little bit more serious. And so we turn to the words of the Mishaberach on page 83 as we ask God to grant us a healing, a refuah shlema of body and of spirit as we sing together now.
Shebeirach avotenu mekor habaracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi shebeirach imotenu mekor habaracha bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
At this point, we have the honor of calling forward one of the most beautiful babies you have ever seen in your entire life, including your own. I tell you, this little girl, Kafira Daisy Bachnick, the daughter of Erica and Andy, is so beautiful and sweet and precious. We invite you to come forward to receive your Hebrew name, to be welcomed into our community, as we also invite your brother Ethan and your sister Liel to come forward now. And as you do, we have gifts for you, candlesticks to help light the way and mark the meaningful moments of your life, as well as a baby book and all kinds of certificates and fun stuff.
Bruchim habayim b'shem Adonai, erachnuchem mi beit Adonai.
Kafira. Oh, sweet girl. Oh, you lost your shoes. That's okay. You don't need shoes up here. It's okay. Kafira, in front of this loving congregation, we are giving you the Hebrew name Chaviva Raya Bat Avraham David B'chaya Bela. You are lovingly named in memory of your paternal great-grandfather, Harold Lax. You were named so perfectly because Chaviva means beloved. And we know you are beloved to your grandparents, Cheryl and Mark Bachnick, and Retta and Mark London. And it is also appropriate because you are so beloved to this congregation. We can't wait to see you grow up in the hallways of our ECC and grow up through all the life cycle events that we can't wait to share with your family in great love. And we just wish you a mazel tov. Mazel
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיע הזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיע הזמן הזה.
Okay, show of hands, how many of you can count to 10? Not everyone's putting their hands up, by the way. Of course, I know the answer. I'm hoping most of you can count to 10. But the truth is, counting is really, really hard. I personally always realize it when I'm lifting weights. All of a sudden, I am totally incapable of counting from 1 to 10. I can't remember what number I am on, what number comes next, and if I've already done 10 reps. It's absurd. And it doesn't matter anyway, because if I ask my trainer, he always says, 5 more. When we were going downtown for the March for Our Lives a few weekends ago, we could hardly get an accurate count of people sitting on the bus in stationary positions, and the cumulative education and secondary degrees held by the people on the bus was astounding. Counting to 10 is apparently difficult. What happens when we need to count to 49? When we need to remember to count one more day every day for 7 weeks to fulfill a God-given commandment? I recoil every year when I know the mitzvah to count the Omer is approaching, even despite the fact that I absolutely love what simple counting can do for us human beings, and in this case, as Jews. In ancient times, the Omer referred to a measure of grain. In the days when the temple stood in Jerusalem, the Jewish people would bring a barley offering on the second day of Passover. This was called the Omer, literally a sheaf. In practical terms for our agricultural ancestors, it was the time when it was permitted to consume the recently harvested grains. Starting on the second day of Passover, the Torah in Leviticus says it is a mitzvah to count the Omer, the days leading up to, what's next? Shavuot. Here, the meaning of the word is not sheav. Now we use the word to mean day, as in count the days. Shavuot is the day that the Jewish people stood at Mount Sinai to receive the Torah. The 7 weeks between Passover and Shavuot are meant to be a time of preparation for this momentous event, yet another time in our year for introspection. The commentators say that we were freed from Egypt only in order to receive the Torah and fulfill it. Thus, we were commanded to count from the second day of Pesach until the day the Torah was given. It builds up excitement for Shavuot and reminds us just how powerful and sacred an obligation it is to fulfill those mitzvot. So there is a simple formula for counting, no problem. Every day before sundown, you say a prayer formula. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav etzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, Holy One of blessings, who makes us holy with sacred obligation and commands us to count the Omer. The next, Hayom Yom Echad LaOmer. Today is the first day of the Omer. And the next day would be Hayom Yom Sheni LaOmer. Today is the second day of the Omer, and so on. Once you fulfill a week, you begin saying, today is 1 week, and then however many days of the Omer. Seems so simple. But how can we, amidst our hectic lives, keep track of what day of the Omer it is when we can hardly keep track of what day of the week it is? And there are rules, so many rules. If you forget which day of the Omer you're on, there are rules about how you can go about figuring it out. If you forget to say the blessing before sundown, it's still good to count, but you can't say the blessing. It goes on and on. It can be a little maddening. But if you've ever studied anything in Judaism in depth, from what constitutes enough matzah to fulfill your obligation at the Seder, or to what even makes up a cup of wine to be considered a cup of wine, you aren't surprised at all. Luckily, the ancient rabbis have always been quite wise to our human frailties and shortcomings. Though their brains were basically supercomputers with tremendous recall and vast encyclopedic knowledge, even they knew that people are people and we forget things, and most of the time the simplest tasks end up being the most difficult. And they knew that counting the Omer would be one such task. So here's one way you might enjoy counting the Omer and staying right on track. Read 1 page of Talmud every single day. Sound exciting? Tractate Sotah, which is about a woman who is suspected of having an affair and the terrible hocus-pocus ordeal she is put through to declare her either innocent or guilty is, you got it, 49 pages. Perfect for those of you who want to stay right on count and learn the fanciful ways our ancestors used potions and spells. Supposedly, the suspected adulteress ordeal was never actually carried out, but was written, just in case. For those of you who haven't seen a page of Talmud, it's a little intimidating. I'm totally lying. It's ridiculously intimidating. It's a record of our rabbis arguing in Aramaic at the center of the page, with Hebrew and Rashi commentary surrounding it on all four sides. And by the way, Rashi decided to have his own script, so even if you can read Hebrew, you have to learn Rashi's script too if you are at all interested in learning of what this titan of commentary had to say. In rabbinical school, my Talmud syllabus literally said, "Do not run out of this room screaming. You'll be fine." In our own lives, we seem to count everything. Days until vacation, number of chemo treatments we might have left. How many places do we need at the table? Pounds until we reach our goal. Tonight, as you leave, please take a yellow candle to be lit on Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. We always count 6 million, but if just one of those 6 million was someone you loved, one is perhaps the most your heart can count. I have tried to count the Omer in so many different ways. Since you're technically not supposed to ask someone what day it is, you're supposed to ask them what day yesterday was, I have used cards you're supposed to flip every day. But then I could never remember if I had already flipped the card and if the card facing up was for yesterday or today, so I totally failed. In comes the beauty of technology. This year, 2 rabbis created a daily email that would conveniently come to my inbox right before sundown, not only to remind me to count, but with a weekly theme and meditation too. They are helping me count, but more importantly, they're helping me make meeting out of an ancient ritual that feels a bit distant and ironically difficult to perform. The first week's theme is waking up. They write, God poses the first question to Adam and Eve after they ate the forbidden fruit of the garden. Ayeka, God asked them, where are you? Rabbinic commentators teach that God was not asking location because, of course, God knew where they were, but God was trying to engage them in a conversation of their existential condition. Where are you really? In their hiding, Adam and Eve remained unaware. What about us? Are we awake? There is a beautiful prayer in our book written by Cantor Smolash on page 63 that asks that very question. Maybe for this year, if you have never counted before, you just decide to read this prayer every day, reminding you to wake up to those around you and the world you live in, to see something new every day. Maybe you also subscribe to the daily email. Email me if you want the info. And you engage in this ancient ritual of counting with the help of 2 modern rabbis who took the ancient rabbis' idea of reading Sotah and made the study relevant to our hearts, minds, and lives. Maybe you make the commitment to try a new mitzvah that you haven't tried before in anticipation of Shavuot. Again, this can be as simple as committing to lighting Shabbat candles every week, or maybe something more involved like committing to take your Jewish education beyond Bible stories of Sunday school. The commitment is to waking up, to becoming. Here is a poem from yesterday's meditation that speaks to this by Rabbi Norman Hirsch. Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us towards our destiny, but hard events and by freedom's now urgent voice which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. Whatever you choose, I urge you to at least take this week's theme to heart. Wake up, begin the becoming, and make each day in the coming weeks count, and every day after that. Shabbat Shalom.
gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the gifts we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hands, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the land between the seas. May we gain wisdom in our lives, overflowing like a river with understanding. Loved, each of us, for the gifts we bring to others. May our deeds exceed our speech, and may we never lift up our hands, but to conquer fear and doubt and despair. Rise up like the sun, O God, over all humanity. Cause light to go forth over all the land between the seas, and light up the universe with the joy of the wholeness of freedom and of peace. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu niyeh Adonai echad u'shmo
It's my pleasure to invite a member of our executive committee, Michael Curhan, to come forward now to address the congregation.
Shabbat Shalom. And Mazel Tov to the Bodnik clan over there. Some interesting highlights at Temple Israel. 3 tonight. They only let me read 3. Thursday, April 12th is Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. The Hebrew word Shoah, of course, means catastrophe and refers to the World War II atrocities committed against our people. To honor their memory, and as Rabbi Klusny mentioned in her sermon, Brotherhood will be providing yahrzeit candles in the foyer at the conclusion of tonight's service for you to light on Wednesday, April 11th at sundown. On Saturday, April 14th at 8 p.m., the Whiskey Factory downtown, at the Whiskey Factory, Temple's sponsoring a Shark Tank-style charitable event. Like Shark Tank, different Jewish charities make a pitch for their cause and programs. Then the audience votes which 3 charities receives the prize money, which starts at $2,500. Program note, this event is only open for our younger adults, 20 to 40-ish. So looking around the room, not many of us are invited to this program. But I know all you are young adults at heart, but this is younger adults. But tell your children and grandkids and all of you 20 and 40-year-olds that I know are watching us at home right now, we hope to see you on April 14th. Finally, on Sunday, April 15th, Sisterhood is doing their annual Spring Boutique. Yes, spring will be here by April 15th. It'll be running from 9:30 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. Many wonderful items will be available for graduations, weddings, birthdays, and even something for yourself. Temple's Cafe will even be open. And remember Mother's Day. Oh, Mother's Day, May 13th. It's just around the corner. Finally, after services, please join us for the Oneg and Shabbat greetings. As we end Passover tonight, I must give you fair warning on the Kiddush tonight. I saw them putting out haroset. Avoid it. Don't eat it. It's left over from the Seder Temple hosted on Saturday. And I'm not sure, but watch out for the punch tonight. I think I saw David Tisdale spiking the punch with, yes, leftover maror. So kids, ask your mom to sip the punch and you can watch maror. That was for Ed Royal out there for them. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, let me wish each of you Shabbat Shalom.
Can't wait to use that joke next year at my Seder. We turn now to the conclusion of our service, and there's lots of young children here, so don't leave. We need you to come up here on the bima for a Shabbat treat as the rest of us rise and turn to page 189.
שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שרנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומונים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, ונאמר היה אדוני מלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
Please be seated. I think Rabbi Jen was being really generous with the candy. I saw like handfuls of candy coming down on the bima. It's because the oneg is Pesach. That's why they get their candy. So we turn now from the joy of these children and the celebration of Shabbat to the task of memory as we recall those who've died in recent days in the period of Shloshim. We remember Gerald Agranov, Dr. Eli Berger, David Bobie, Ali Banks de Sutter, Sharon Diskin, Laura Felder, Reva Fox, Sol Garber, Judith Ginter, Martha Glickman, Michael Goldberg, Michael Gordon, Martin Grant, Harold Greenbert, Mike Handelsman, Merle Harris, Marshall Keller, Norbert Kitai, Dorothy Kuhn, Manny Lasky, Helen Leibowitz, Phyllis Lenhoff, Marion Lupaloff, Henry Liebeck, Ray Mendelson, William Milstein, Dorothy Moskowitz, John Redfield, Marcia Ross, Beth Ruskin, Dr. William Sills, Zena Singer, Dr. Arthur Waldman, and Gloria Zatkin. We recall those whose yard sites fall at this time: Max Aronson, Molly Rosa Bravort, Gerald Brickner, Harvey Allen Deutsch, Herman Emmer, Joseph Finkel, Shirley Finkel, Norman Gusson, Joseph Hammer, Florence Levin Jacobs, Mark Camel, Lillian Kelman, John Lockhart, William Newman, Jack Richards, Irving Rubin, Rita Brandis Rubin, Ann Saperstein, Red Saperstein, Terry Swartz, Sally Weiner, Robert Weinstock, Jack Weiss, Marilyn Weiss, Alfred Blatnikoff, Ethel Oakrent, Dorothy Rothman, Mitchell Scott Schechter, Gertrude Carble, Francis Sable, Marty David Lewis, Eileen Weiner, Richard Jager, Sherry Grinter, Joel Howard Haber, Benita Bornstein, Ann Tisdale, Gordon Moses, Martin Smolisher, Molly Goodman, Matthew Rubin, Sarah Fantich, Isidore Friedthal, Cindy Friedman, Larry Ross, Ida Winnick, Abraham Brandis, and Meyer Baranoff. Tehei Nishmotehem Soror B'Tzorah Chaim. May their souls be bound up in the bond of everlasting life and memory as we turn to page 199 as we read together the words of Kaddish. Yid Gadal v'Yid Kadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma Divra Chirute V'Yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon U'Vyomechon U'B'chaye Jechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agalau V'Zman Kariv V'Yimru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevarach Leolam Omeo Maya, Yid Barach V'Yishtabach V'Yid Pa'ar V'Yidromam V'Yitnaseh, Vitadar Vitale Vitalal Shemedikud Shabarichu Leila Min Ko Birchata Vashirata Tushbachata Venechemata Damiran Bialma Vimru Amen Yehe Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Alenu Ve'al Ko Yisrael Vimru Amen O say Shalom Bimromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Alenu Ve'al Ko Yisrael Vimru Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved among us. Amen.